healthcare. I ask every Republican I talk to now, like, is your party going to have a position on healthcare? And if so, like, what are the elements of it? Rich Larry has a great column. It's in the New York Post and elsewhere today, saying here are some great Republican ideas, substantive ideas, but they'd have to be sold to the country. One of the people who'd be doing the selling would be the Republican whip, Tom Emmer, who I hosted on Next Up. You can watch or listen to that now. Here's Tom Emmer when I asked him about healthcare and what he sees as the problems there in his constituency. 107, please. When you talk to your constituents, what are their three top complaints about their personal health care, their personal health insurance? Number one, two, and three.
Health insurance is too expensive, and we're restricted on choices of who we're going to see and when we're going to see them. Look.
Wait, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. That's two. Too expensive, meaning premiums are too high, deductibles are too high, copays are too high, right? All three of those. And then their ability to access certain providers is limited. What's the third besides those?
Well, I don't know. I mean, healthcare is a mess, Mark.
Yeah.
And what I would say to you is this: good for the Democrats. They're the ones who broke it. This idea that they won the shutdown because everybody's talking about healthcare, everybody was going to be talking about healthcare anyway.
All right. If you're doing healthcare, like any complex legislation, you have to know what the traffic will bear politically, and you'd have to know sort of where the MAGA is and the party is. So Bill Cassidy knows a ton about healthcare policy. He's a doctor. He's chair of the applicable committee. Sean, in the constellation of the White House and Capitol Hill, who are like the leading lights who can understand the nexus between formulating a plan, selling a plan, getting the votes for a plan, and on this issue of bipartisanship, Emmer suggested they might try to work with Democrats, and other people I've talked to said that too. So are they going for a Republican-only plan, and who are the architects of this strategy in the White House and on the Hill, would you say, besides the leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately this is going to fall to James Blair, the political director, to sort of shepherd. I don't know.
Is he a policy guy? Does James know
no,
about?
I mean, he's a political guy, so he's going to be in charge.
So who are like is Stephen Miller super knowledgeable about healthcare? I'm just trying to figure out who's like the Gene Sperling, the Ira Magaziner, the Ted Kennedy. Who's like the person saying, here's what we want, and this can pass, and here's how we're going to get the votes, and here's how we're going to sell it, and here's how we're building a constituency to lobby for it, and here's how we're neutralizing pharma and the hospitals, the doctors. Like, who's that? I just don't. I ask because I can't see that person.
Going through the various offices. So you have Vince Haley leading the Domestic Policy Council. That's not. Vince is a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
I don't think healthcare's ever been his wheelhouse per se. Yeah. Although his work with Newt, I will say, this is where someone like a Newt could come in and
totally
talk
agree.
About.
Totally agree.
But I mean, just off the top of my head,
although Newt's an ambassadorial spouse in Europe currently, so
well, he flies back and forth.
Yeah, and I'll just say, it's not going to be Bobby Kennedy. Let's all agree he's not. He doesn't know anything about the legislative process, so it's not going to be him. Now,
could it be
Oz? That's my point of my question is I just don't see who the grand architect of policy, politics, the press, constituency groups. Dan, do you?
No, they don't, because they've never taken this seriously. I mean, that's for Emmer to say we were going to be talking about this anyway is ridiculous. No, you weren't. You were going to try to bury it as far down the list as humanly possible. So, I mean, look, I will say this, though, and Sean and I talked about this last night. The problem for the Democratic Party needs to be careful about is we don't want to defend the status quo. Right. So, okay, we want to extend the subsidies. And I think even Republicans think you're going to have to do it as a transition. But what comes next? Our candidates in 26 are going to need to say, here are the three things that we are going to do, and then in 28 as well, to reform what is a system that is, it may not be broken, but it's got a lot of problems, and it needs to be fixed.
So going back to the question you asked, Mark, though, on its face, you would say, normally someone would say, why the heck would Republicans work with Democrats, right? But this goes to the question that Dan and I were talking about, which is the smart move right now is to make them to jointly own it.
Yeah.
Because to say, oh, we're fixing it and like any buy-in, and then it looks like, hey, therefore anything that goes wrong, it's a joint screw up.
Yep.
But here's the thing. This gets back to, like, I don't the way that Emmer answered your question to me, it doesn't take, asking a constituent. Anybody who has gone to a doctor is frustrated. The wait times suck. The cost sucks. The delivery sucks. The choice sucks. Like, you don't have to ask somebody. You just have to have gone to a doctor of like any magnitude to realize that this process is horrible. The way that the interaction that you have, the time that you're allowed, the care that you get, their training. I mean, like, everything about the process is horrible. It's like dealing with the cable company. So I don't think that this should be like something that any party should run from, but realize like we should all, try to join hands and figure out how to solve this thing. And actually, this is an area where getting some of these guys in a room and saying, hey, we should all agree, because it's not a Republican or Democratic problem that choices are non-existent, that the costs are too high, and to find some way to get some agreement on that makes sense to me.
Yeah, watch closely, everybody. This is a massive story between now and State of the Union.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.